Hi friends, Aitherea here, and today I'm here to deliver some Guild Wars 3 news. They've posted a blog written by Colin Johansson, and it's titled Our Guild Wars Philosophy, Solving Player Problems, a deep dive into how we build games at ArenaNet. So I'm going to read it for you and here and there give some of my own thoughts and commentary on it. Hello Guild Wars community. Today's Guild Wars 3 update is a big one, as I'm going to be talking about the core philosophy that defines the way we make games. So grab a cup of your favorite drink, sit back, or lean forward, called out by the way, and relax, it's reading time. When we set out to build Guild Wars 3, we didn't start by asking what a sequel should look like. We started with something more fundamental, the core philosophy that defines how we have built games at ArenaNet over the last 21 years. Our philosophy is relatively simple. When we make a new game, we take an inventory of the genre at the time, the good and the bad. Then, we identify player problems, frustrations, and limitations, and we ask, how could we solve them? Today, I'm going to talk about 4 core elements players have come to know and love about Guild Wars games that arose from this approach to game development. These are expectations we know players have of any Guild Wars game as a result of the innovations we've delivered on over the years, and I want to share how we're applying these expectations to Guild Wars 3. 1. No subscription fees. From the beginning, one of the defining ideas behind Guild Wars was simple. Players should be able to buy the game and play it on their own terms. When Guild Wars launched in 2005, that wasn't the norm. Subscription fees were a core part of the MMO model. Choosing not to have one wasn't just a pricing decision. It was a statement about accessibility and long-term value. We carried that forward into Guild Wars 2, and it remains just as important today. Guild Wars 3 will be a buy-to-play game at release. There will be no subscription fee. That model matters because it puts players in control. Our goal is for players to feel like their time in the game is something they choose, not something they owe. Want to take a break and go play other games? Great, go for it. We'd recommend trying out Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2, we hear they're awesome. Ready to come back when the next Guild Wars 3 expansion comes out? Wonderful, we'll be here waiting for you. But just saying there won't be a subscription fee isn't enough anymore. We've been looking carefully at the newest round of modern MMOs and the broad array of live service games that often look suspiciously like MMOs, and seeing how subscription-like systems have evolved. In many newer games, the subscription hasn't disappeared. It has been reshaped. Paid battle passes, paid recurring seasonal tracks, and similar paid systems often function as a new kind of ongoing fee. That model works for some games, but it's not aligned with how we think about player freedom in a Guild Wars game. It's a form of subscription fee hidden inside of a neat, optional package that obfuscates the subscription from the player. And optional was in quotation marks there. When we say Guild Wars 3 won't have a subscription fee, we mean it. No monthly fees and no Battle Pass subscription fees. Just buy the game and play when you want. If we earn your trust and you feel we're delivering experiences you love, we'll have expansions and other things you can buy from us if you think they're worth your investment. So before I move on to the next section, I do want to give a couple thoughts on this one. First of all, I do think it's interesting that they pointed out this feeling of owing the game something in terms of subscription games, and I definitely think that that can happen. I don't feel it too much with Final Fantasy XIV because I play enough to not really feel it, to be honest. I play it and then obviously I make videos about it, so for me having that subscription is very worthwhile. I kind of always need to be subscribed to the game because I'm like always making videos about it, but I can see that feeling like how other people could feel that way, and I have definitely felt that way about World of Warcraft because I've been trying out WoW, but I haven't really been playing because I've been playing Guild Wars 2. But I played it before, I think it was before patch 7.5, and then I resubbed recently, and I really regretted it. It was, even though my friend paid for it with his in-game currency, so like it wasn't any real money, but I really regretted it because I was like, I had stopped the sub for a short time, like maybe a week or two, because I was playing 14 again. And then I was like, oh, I better resub to WoW again because like there's new traders tenders and like blah, blah, blah. I like want to see if there's anything good. I don't want to miss out. I want to like buy these things from the trading post or whatever. And then I like did that and I didn't play like at all after that, like at all. And that I still have like a month left on that subscription. And I feel kind of bad about it because, like, even though it was purchased with in-game currency, like, I do have this feeling like I have to go play the game at least a little bit. I have to go get at least a couple hours out of it. But the thing is, I don't really want to play WoW right now. I want to play Guild Wars 2 right now. And I think that kind of feeling, if you force yourself to play the game, and even if you don't, it can kind of cause people to grow some resentment for the game because, first of all, it feels like you threw money in the garbage if you don't play it, and that feels bad. It feels like a waste of money, and nobody likes wasting money, especially people who don't like have a lot of money to give to their entertainment, like as part of their entertainment budget. Or in my case, even though it wasn't like my money or even my friend's money, technically, I can't help but think like, oh, the amount of in-game currency he spent was equivalent to like $30, and like that's in the trash now because I'm barely playing. And it just feels bad. So what happens is that either you just end up feeling like you wasted it or you like force yourself to play. And some people might still be able to get some enjoyment even when they're like, oh, I don't really feel like playing, I'm gonna log in. And maybe they do still manage to have some fun. But I think for like someone like me and how I feel right now, where it's like, I don't want to play that game. If I go play WoW when I actually want to play Guild Wars 2, I feel like I'm like taking my free time away from myself to like do some chores in a game. I don't know. It's just, it's not fun. It feels bad all around. So I think it is really cool that Guild Wars is dedicated to giving us the buy to play model. I mean, obviously there are some caveats and some sacrifices that come along with that, in my opinion anyway. But when you have so many like games with, like they're saying, battle passes with subscriptions, it's just so much money. It's just like, it's hard to like enjoy yourself. While I feel like it's so much easier to have a game where you just buy it and then play it as much or as little as you want. It just feels so much better too. And then the thing they were talking about, how like there's a lot of free to play games that act like they don't have subscriptions, but the reality is that they have like all these battle passes. And a lot of times they also have really predatory microtransactions. And I will say Guild Wars 2 at least has somewhat predatory microtransaction options, but they're not as bad as most games. Like the thing I don't like about Guild Wars 2 is the FOMO of like the items in the store coming and going. So like you want an outfit. Okay, well it's here now and you better buy it now because it's going to be gone for 4 months and you're not going to be able to see it for a while if you don't buy it right now. So there's that. And then there's the way that they sell gems. I talked about it in my last video where like you can't just buy the exact amount of gems that you want. It's either 400 or 800 or like 1600 or some crap like that, where it's like, if I want just like 700 gems, I can't just get 700 gems. I have to buy 800. And I don't like that. But it's still less predatory than a lot of the live service games that are out today. And the thing about battle passes, they put optional in quotation marks, and I think it depends on the game. But it's true that you miss out with a lot of these games, because the only game that I really play that has like a battle pass would be Infinity Nikki. And as a free-to-play player in Infinity Nikki, you really can't get a lot of stuff in the game. Like I miss out on a lot of clothes because a lot of the banners, I might be able to get like a few pieces from it, but it's just really hard because I feel like the amount of free pulls they give every like time they come out with like new banners and stuff and events and whatnot to gain in-game currency is like 100 pulls, which is about half of a 5-star banner. And I always feel like lucky when I don't like the banner and don't want it, because I'm like, oh cool, now I can like save up for like a banner later that I do like. Or sometimes they bring out like cool 4 stars. So I've had like this in my brain before where I'm like, oh, I need to just like not even get 5 stars anymore and just get 4 stars because I'll actually be able to get more, because the 4 stars you're guaranteed a piece every 5 rolls, where the 5 stars you're guaranteed a piece like every 20 rolls. You're guaranteed a 4-star piece because there's always a 5-star banner and it has a 4-star with it. And you're guaranteed a 4-star piece every 10 rolls, but a 5-star every 20. So it just sucks. So I think it's really cool that Guild Wars 2 and, well, the Guild Wars franchise as a whole, they focus on like letting you actually play the content. Like the thing about Guild Wars 2 is like, you buy the expansions and you can play all of the content. Nothing is held back from you. You can farm anything you want in the game, all of the achievements. There's nothing that you can't do. What they put in the store is cosmetics, and what they put in the store is certain convenience items, but those convenience items are things like the salvage, like the copper-fed salvage thing, where there are in-game items for salvaging that you can like get from NPCs. Maybe there's craftable options. There's some that you make at the Mystic Forge. Like, it's a whole thing, but like it's not that complicated, and you can just as easily do it in the game. It just takes up a few inventory slots as opposed to having the salvager, which only, takes up one slot and it's just a little bit more convenient. So I think overall, even though there are some things I don't like about the way Guild Wars 2 does stuff in their store, overall, it is a lot more fair, I think, than a lot of the games that are around today, because with a lot of the games that are around today, it's pay or you miss out, where with Guild Wars 2, you're not missing out on any of the actual like content or fun. You're just missing out on a little bit of like convenience and cosmetics, which the cosmetics are kind of a big deal for me. And I did say in my last video my last Guild Wars 2 video, that I want to see more cosmetics in the game itself, especially like I would love an achievement path where you can get like some of the cool glowy wings or like animated stuff. And like I said, you can with legendaries. But I'd like to see a little bit more of that in the game. Like, sure, let's still have paid options because they need it to support the game. But like, let's also maybe have, can I have a little bit more, please? Anyways, let's move on to the next section. Speaking of other things you can buy from us, this one is pretty simple, and the statement we made before the release of Guild Wars 2 about our philosophy in this area remains true to this day. We think players should have the opportunity to spend money on items that provide visual distinction and offer more ways to express themselves, so cosmetics. They should also be able to spend money on account services and on time-saving convenience items, which is basically what I was just talking about. But it's never okay in a Guild Wars game for players who spend money to have an unfair advantage over players who spend time. I like that they said this, but I do think at least in the current Guild Wars games, or at least Guild Wars 2, there might be some amount of pay to win. And I'd like for those who are more experienced in the game to comment on this, but let me explain what I mean, and then please comment and tell me if you feel like this is right, wrong, or what you think. But basically, Guild Wars has what you could consider like legal RMT, like real money trading, where you can spend money to buy gems and then you can sell those gems for gold. And other players, I think, can buy gold, like can buy the gems. They can buy the gems with their gold, so then they can spend the gems on the store, but then you can have gold in game. And so the thing about this is basically you're spending real money to get gems, to sell them for gold, and then you get gold, right? So you're basically going through this process to get gold in the game. And what you can do with that gold is you can buy the things that you need, some of them, not all of them, some of them, to make like legendaries, which is sort of the best armor in the game. It's kind of the best because of the convenience that it offers in multiple different ways. I don't think the stats are actually like any better than Ascended gear, but you can share legendary gear across all of your characters, and you can't do that with the Ascended gear. You don't have to use transmutation charges to glam the legendary gear, and a lot of the legendary gear has special effects in terms of like glows and animations and cool appearances and stuff. So lots of people grind for the legendaries, and part of grinding for them is there are these achievements that you physically have to do in the game. You can't just buy them. Like, you have to go through the achievement and like get the items that you need, from what I understand. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like you have to go through a system of certain achievements and doing certain things. But then there are some items that you can buy from other players, from what I understand. So to me, there's some degree of pay to win there, but at the same time, like I said, legendaries aren't any better than Ascended gear in terms of like power or stats, from what I understand. So it could be because legendaries in and of themselves are kind of convenience items, that maybe it is another pay for convenience if you do use real money to speed up the process of getting legendaries. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that there's any like pay to win in getting legendaries? I've not made one yet, so I don't fully understand how it works, and so I could be completely wrong here. But I guess I'm just a little skeptical, or like a little curious if spending money on gems to turn into gold to get items like legendaries. Is there any essence of pay to win there or not? Please let me know if you know. Okay, moving on. Respecting your time and investment. Respecting players' time has always been a core part of Guild Wars, and that's more important today than ever before. One of the most common perceptions about the MMO genre is that the games require massive time investments to play. Historically, MMO engagement has been viewed as an experience like a second job, where players spend large amounts of time preparing to have fun before they can actually engage in the fun parts. Only have 30 minutes to play? Don't play an MMO. You'll need that time just to organize your inventory, figure out what content you're going to play, get your character set up, and oh no, time's up and you haven't even begun the gameplay yet. It is ironic to me that they're talking about the inventory because there's so much inventory clogging stuff in Guild Wars 2 that it's part of the reason that I don't have to and I do have to deal with my inventory enough, right? But I feel like part of the reason I'm not spending 30 minutes every time I open the game to organize my inventory is because I was able to get 10 bag slots and unlock 10 bags. So I don't know, that's the pot calling the kettle black here. And I hope you guys are thinking about that for Guild Wars 3 because that's a little, you're talking about yourselves, you know? Players today have more choices than ever. And so many modern game experiences allow players to quickly and meaningfully get a return on their time investment in the game without significant barriers or preparing to have fun. That means our responsibility isn't just to create content, it's to make sure that time spent in the game feels meaningful. This has always been important to ArenaNet and the Guild Wars franchise, but we're continuing to evolve this philosophy for the modern era of game development and asking how a genre that is dominated by 10 to 20-year-old games modernizes this space. We want you to feel good about the time you invest, whether you're playing every day, only have an hour or two every week, or are coming back after a long break from the game. For our existing fans, we've already announced there will be a new Hall of Monuments that connects your Guild Wars 2 account to your Guild Wars 3 account and provides a wide array of awards as our means of saying thank you and showing we respect the time and investment you've already made in the franchise. We'll talk in more detail in the future about how Guild Wars 3's game and content systems are evolving to create a new take on the MMO that respects players' time and investment. 4. Innovating and evolving the MMORPG genre. One of the most important parts of our philosophy, and one that sometimes surprises people, is that we don't aim to make direct sequels. Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 are very different games, and that was intentional. Though they take place in the same world, each one was built to push against the conventions of its time, solve player problems relevant to that era of games, and explore new ideas in the MMO space. The MMO landscape today isn't the same as it was during the development of Guild Wars or Guild Wars 2. Player expectations have changed. Technology has evolved. The ways people engage with online worlds are broader and more varied. The lines between an MMO and a live service game have blurred. The amount of time players have to dedicate to a single game has decreased as their library of games has continued to grow. This, I really love that they point out because I feel like it's so true. And especially as an MMO player, I feel like MMOs are one of the hardest games to feel like you can play multiple of because so many MMOs are like giant, they've got so many systems, and like they mentioned, the most popular MMOs are like really old and they're WoW, they're 14 and probably Guild Wars too. And I think WoW for me was the most daunting, the most intimidating, the most overwhelming, and like the worst new player experience. 14, I think, was probably the best new player experience for me personally because it was more handholdy. It was really easy to just follow the story. And Guild Wars 2 has been somewhere in between, but pretty good because I've had a lot of people to help me. 14, I didn't have anyone to help me at all. I joined that without really knowing anybody that was playing the game. I did that completely on my own, and I didn't have too much trouble. WoW, I literally have a friend who plays, and I had a lot of trouble, to be honest. And Guild Wars 2, while there have been some pain points and frustrations for me, overall, I think my experience as a new player was relatively good, and I do attribute a large part of that to the fact that I had like a community of people around me. Not like a large community, but like a few friends that joined to play. So, and some, we knew a veteran in the game as well. So that helped, I think, a lot. But yeah, I think it's very important to consider that people have less time and they have like more games that they want to play. So I like that they pointed that out. If we approached Guild Wars 3 by simply extending what we've already done, we'd miss the opportunity to move the genre forward. A genre that we've heard so many of you say desperately needs innovation and evolution. So instead of just making a sequel, we're asking the same question we always do. What does the next evolution of an MMO look like right now? Do I think MMOs need change and evolution? I actually think that a lot of them already are. Like, I think 14 and WoW have both evolved in their own ways, and what's holding them back more than anything at this point was the old bones they were created on, rather than the game or the content themselves, because I think both have like shifted the way that they make content to better serve an audience of adults with jobs. I really think that's what they focus on a lot more now, because I feel like the original MMOs that I played, which I never played WoW when it first came out, or 14. I played a lot of like free-to-play MMOs, but they were very grindy. And I feel like when I think of like what was the classic MMO, it was very grindy in the sense of like things that were super time-consuming, and like you were basically doing the same thing over and over and over and over. So does the MMO genre need innovation? I mean, sure, it's not like an unwelcome thing at all. But for me, when I think about the innovations that I want to see, it's really like modernizing the games in sense of like the engine that they're in, not so much the content itself, because I feel like most games that are old, like WoW and 14, are already doing that. What does the next evolution of an MMO look like right now? Answering that question means Guild Wars 3 will be its own kind of game, distinct from both Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2. Our two existing games fall on the two furthest ends of the MMORPG spectrum. Guild Wars Reforged is, at its core, a game about a small team, a player and their assembled team of henchmen or hero NPCs or other players they want to bring along with them, overcoming challenges in a predominantly instanced game. Unless you invite them along, you never saw other players except in the game's social hubs. When we released the original Guild Wars, we branded the game as a co-RPG, cooperative online RPG. However, the branding never stuck, and everyone informed us we'd released an MMORPG. We even won multiple MMO of the Year awards. We gave up on the co-RPG angle since it didn't stick with players, and we simply embraced what everyone told us. We'd shipped a unique kind of MMORPG. Guild Wars 2 is the opposite. At its core, it's a game about giant-scale experiences in an expansive open-world setting. Giant world boss battles, map-wide meta events, and PvP on a massive scale are what Guild Wars 2 is most known for, although the game offers a wide array of different experiences. Unlike other large-scale MMO worlds, there are no servers or worlds you join that restrict the players you might meet within that giant setting. Instead, the game is organized into maps using our mega server system, and players are able to play with anyone who chooses the same region of the real world they play the game from. So basically, it's North American players are going to play with North American players, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how many regions they serve, actually. I also want to make a point about this, which is that the mega server thing with Guild Wars 2 is really cool. I think out of all the MMOs that I kind of am currently playing or have tried recently, like 14 and WoW, Guild Wars 2 is the one that feels the most lived in, which is funny because it's the one with the smallest population. Like if you go by the numbers of like how many people are playing these games, there's way more people. There's way more people playing something like WoW. There's way more people playing something like 14, but Guild Wars 2 definitely feels the most like an MMO. It feels the most lived in because no matter where you go, there's like always people around. No matter what event you're doing, there's like always somebody else doing it. So it just feels so much more like an MMO to me. I guess, again, if you're thinking more about like what the classic MMO is, and I do feel like MMOs have moved away from the classic MMO structure a lot. Like I said, I do feel like they've innovated because people don't have a lot of time on their hands anymore. They don't have a lot of time to dedicate to games anymore. And a lot of people want to do more solo play. That's why 14 has put in solo play systems. And there are people that kind of lament the loss of that MMO feeling like they're playing with other players, and feeling like there's not as much social activity either. There's not a lot of social experiences, and that's understandable. But I do think like there's a reason games are moving this way. But I also think that Guild Wars 2's mega server is like a really cool idea that honestly works really well to make the game feel really lived in and feel like an MMO, and like breed more opportunities for playing with other people, even if you're not like directly playing with them like in the same squad. I don't know, I think it's cool. Guild Wars 3 lands near the middle of the MMO spectrum, which supports the goals we have for our movement and combat systems. While it fits the definition of an MMORPG significantly more than Guild Wars Reforged does, it doesn't try to replicate the large-scale gameplay pillars that so uniquely define Guild Wars 2. This ensures that all three of our games can coexist as different experiences on different timelines, telling different stories about the world of Aitherea. I realize this is intentionally somewhat broad and vague, and you all want to know a lot more about the specifics of what all of this means right now. But we've got a very long campaign ahead of us between now and the launch of Guild Wars 3, and there's plenty of time. We'll discuss the specifics in much greater detail in the future as we share more information on the various game systems, content systems, and concepts that make up Guild Wars 3. Looking ahead. As we continue development, these pillars are our foundation. They shape not just individual features, but the overall direction of the game. You'll see us come back to them often in the future when we discuss the game in more detail, and as always, player feedback will be a big part of that process. We only know we've solved player problems when you tell us our solutions are working. Guild Wars has always been a conversation between developers and the community. That doesn't change with Guild Wars 3. We invite you to join that conversation on our social channels and our newly launched official Guild Wars community Discord server. The conversation has just begun. We can't wait to share where we're going. Colin Johansson. And that's the end of it. So I think if you're someone who's played Guild Wars for a while, you may kind of already have known these things, and they have talked about them with some of the announcements they've been making for Guild Wars 3. They have been talking about some of these different things, like how it's not going to be a subscription and all of that. So, and they also, they talked about the Hall of Monuments. So a lot of the stuff people probably already know, but I overall thought it was a nice post. I thought it was really cool. I thought there was kind of, some exciting information in there, especially for people like me who are newer to Guild Wars, who haven't played it for a really long time. I think it's very exciting to see the way that they talk about things like subscription models and how they're going to be like buy to play and not have all those fees and stuff. And I just really hope that they deliver on kind of like the things that they're talking about, because, they mention things about how like, oh, it's all about the player and we want your feedback and all of this, and we want it to be a conversation. We want to take player feedback. And I haven't been in this game long enough to know if they actually do take player feedback, because 14, they absolutely do. They're very good about it. Where something like Guild Wars 3, I don't know if it's like, are they just saying this or do they actually? I'm sure, again, some veterans could let me know in the comments, but it's very promising to say the least. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed having me read this to you and share my own thoughts and opinions. As always, please consider leaving a sacrifice to Lord Algorithm in the form of a like, comment, share, or subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to my channel members for supporting me. Bye!